She remarked, "He's my colleague. I only flirt to boost sales." I grinned and subsequently sent a teasing message to her company's ethics committee and her coworker's spouse. Now her LinkedIn states, "Open to work." My girlfriend was recently let go for inappropriate behavior at work, and I ensured the right people were informed about it. Let me explain. Megan, 29, has been in pharmaceutical sales for around 8 months and is quite skilled at it, raking in substantial commissions and boasting about being the top performer in her region. I, a 34-year-old male, work in IT for a logistics firm. Completely different field, but I'm familiar enough with corporate policies to recognize when something's off. About 6 weeks ago, the issues began when Megan became careless with her phone. She was always attached to it, texting constantly during dinner, while watching TV, and even during conversations. Recently, she started leaving it face up on the coffee table while she showered or cooked, assuming I wasn't paying attention. That was a mistaken belief. Marcus from her office was a common contact, sending late-night messages about client strategies and early morning good luck texts before significant meetings, and there was constant back and forth about deals. Initially, it seemed professional enough, but then the tone changed. One evening, while she was in the shower, her phone lit up with a message from Marcus. "That red dress today was dangerous, babe." Almost lost focus during the Peterson presentation. I memorized that message. When she emerged, I mentioned the text notification. "Oh, that's just Marcus being dramatic," she replied. "He says I dress too well for client meetings, thinks it distracts from the presentation. Seems odd for a coworker to comment like that." Marcus has a direct approach. Sales is all about image, and he helps me understand what works with different clients. I started observing more closely, not snooping, just noticing what appeared on her phone when it was nearby. Marcus frequently complimented her outfits, called her stunning, and made comments about her perfume and the way she walked into meetings. It was detailed feedback for a professional mentor. Then came the message that changed everything. Megan was cooking dinner when her phone buzzed again. It was Marcus. "Can't stop thinking about our strategy session in the supply room yesterday. Hope we can brainstorm like that again soon." She snatched her phone quickly, but I had already seen it. "Strategy session in the supply room?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. "We needed somewhere quiet to review the presentation without interruptions," she responded, avoiding my gaze. "Supply room seems like an odd choice for that. It's actually perfect. Private space. No one bothers you. Marcus knows all the best spots for focused work." That night, I decided to investigate further. Marcus had an extensive LinkedIn profile, senior account manager, with 12 years at the company, married to Linda with 2 teenage kids, complete with a professional headshot and family vacation photos, the whole suburban success story. His company had a strict ethics policy on their website regarding workplace relationships, maintaining professional boundaries and zero tolerance for harassment. I also found Linda's Facebook through Marcus' profile. She frequently posted about family activities, anniversary dinners, and date nights with her husband of 15 years, a seemingly nice woman who trusted her hardworking spouse. On Thursday evening, Megan announced she had another late client dinner with Marcus. "Important prospect," she explained while putting on a low-cut blouse. "Marcus thinks if we do this right, it could significantly benefit both of our sales numbers." "You two make a great team," I replied. "We do. Marcus really understands how to work with clients. He's teaching me all these relationship-building techniques." "What kind of techniques?" Reading body language, making people feel special, building personal connections." "Nothing too complicated?" "Nothing complicated about supply room brainstorming sessions." The following morning, while Megan was getting ready, her phone rang, Marcus calling early. She answered on speaker while applying her makeup. "Hey, what's up?" "Morning, beautiful. Ready for another productive day?" "Always," she replied. "Love working with a partner who appreciates good strategy sessions." They both laughed at some inside joke. After she left, I made my decision. It was time to stop being a passive observer. I didn't have access to her phone, nor was I willing to break any laws to gather evidence, but I had something more valuable. I had witnessed their conversations, heard them discussing strategy sessions, and seen the flirty messages that popped up on her screen. More importantly, I knew exactly what questions to ask to get Megan to reveal everything herself. 2 weeks later, the investigation began sooner than I anticipated. Corporate ethics departments take matters seriously when they have the right information. I had been monitoring Megan's phone habits for another week and had a clear understanding of her relationship with Marcus. On Tuesday night, I casually brought up her work. "How are things going with Marcus? Still helping you close deals?" "Oh, yes. He's incredible. We've set up this whole system for managing difficult clients." "A system?" "We meet privately to strategize, role-play different scenarios, and practice our approach. Marcus is very hands-on with training." "Hands-on training sounds intense." "It is. We'll spend hours going over every detail. Sometimes we have to find quiet places to work when the office gets too busy." "Quiet places?" "Supply rooms, conference rooms after hours, even his car sometimes when we need to drive to client sites together." She was essentially documenting the inappropriate relationship herself, thinking she was describing professional mentorship. I asked more questions over the next few days, each conversation providing more insights into their private meetings, personal texting, and strategy sessions in secluded spots. On Wednesday, I called the ethics hotline for her company. "I'd like to report inappropriate conduct between two employees. I have concerns about a workplace relationship that may be affecting professional judgment and violating company policies." The ethics officer gathered basic information, including employee names, department details, and my concerns about after-hours meetings, private strategy sessions, and overly personal communication. "Do you have direct evidence of policy violations?" "I have eyewitness accounts of employees discussing private meetings in supply rooms, extended after-hour sessions, personal texting, and inappropriate comments about appearance and performance." "Are you willing to provide a detailed statement?" "Yes, I can provide specific dates, times, and details of conversations I've witnessed." They scheduled me for a phone interview the following Monday. On Thursday, I reached out to Linda, found her Facebook profile, and sent her a direct message. "Hi Linda, you don't know me, but I have concerns about some workplace conduct involving your husband, Marcus. I think you should be aware of what's happening at his office." She replied within a few hours asking for details. I explained that I had observed extensive after-hours meetings between Marcus and a female colleague, personal texting, private strategy sessions in supply rooms, and comments about appearance that seemed inappropriate for workplace relationships. Linda requested specifics, and I provided dates, times, and details of conversations I'd overheard. "Are you certain about this information?" she asked. "I've been observing this behavior for weeks and can provide specific examples." On Friday, Linda called me. We spoke for 30 minutes, and I shared the same information I had provided to the ethics department. She remained calm but was clearly upset. "I appreciate you reaching out. This explains some changes I've noticed in Marcus' behavior lately." On Monday, I had my formal interview with the ethics department, providing a detailed timeline of inappropriate conduct, crossing of professional boundaries, and violations of workplace policies. They took it seriously, asked follow-up questions, and requested I document everything in writing. On Tuesday, the investigation officially began. Megan returned home confused. "They want to interview me about my working relationship with Marcus. Something about a complaint being filed." "What kind of complaint?" HR wouldn't give details. They just said someone reported concerns about professional conduct. They want to discuss my interactions with Marcus. "I'm sure it's routine. Companies have to investigate every complaint." On Wednesday, she seemed more anxious. "They're interviewing everyone on our team, asking about Marcus and me, specifically about our meetings, our communication, our professional boundaries." "What are you telling them?" "The truth, that Marcus is my mentor. We work well together. We meet regularly to discuss strategy and client approaches. Nothing inappropriate." On Thursday, Marcus was interviewed. Apparently, it didn't go well. He was panicking. Megan told me he thought someone was trying to sabotage them, someone jealous of their success. On Friday, they interviewed Linda, Marcus's wife. It turned out she had been documenting his behavioral changes for weeks. Late nights, secretive phone calls, a sudden interest in work attire and cologne. She provided a detailed timeline that corroborated the workplace investigation. The investigation progressed methodically, but reached a predictable conclusion in week 3. They interviewed more colleagues, and it turned out Marcus and Megan's strategy sessions were common knowledge around the office. People had noticed their private meetings, personal texting, and coordinated schedules. Several coworkers provided statements about inappropriate behavior they'd witnessed, crossing professional boundaries and ignoring workplace policies. In week 4, they presented their findings to both employees. Marcus was terminated immediately for violating workplace conduct policies, harassment, and misuse of company resources. After 12 years with the company, he lost everything. Megan faced a choice: immediate termination or resignation with a neutral reference. She opted for resignation, thinking it would look better for future job searches. A miscalculation. The pharmaceutical sales industry is small, and background checks are thorough. Word travels quickly about ethics violations. Her initial interviews went poorly as potential employers asked specific questions about why she left her previous role. They could sense she was being evasive. After 2 weeks of rejections, she began applying for positions outside pharmaceutical sales, lower-level roles in different industries, anything to get back to work. The car dealership interview was tough. Commission only, no base salary, weekend and evening work, competing with experienced salespeople for customers. "This is so far beneath my experience level," she complained. "I was making 6 figures. Now I'm interviewing for entry-level positions. Maybe it's temporary until your reputation recovers." "My reputation shouldn't need recovering. I didn't do anything wrong." The investigation found minor policy violations. Everyone in sales builds personal relationships with colleagues. It's how the business works, right? Personal relationships in supply rooms? Very professional. 3 weeks later, she still hadn't secured a job. Her savings were dwindling, and unemployment benefits couldn't cover her lifestyle. She had to give up her apartment, unable to afford rent without commission income, and started looking for more affordable housing. Her parents offered their guest room as a temporary solution until she got back on her feet. "This is humiliating," she said while packing. "I'm 30 years old, moving back home because of some ridiculous investigation. Maybe it's a chance to reassess your career strategy." "My career strategy was fine until someone decided to ruin it." Someone meaning the person who reported factual information about workplace misconduct to the appropriate authorities. Last week, she moved back in with her parents, 2 hours away from her previous life. Her professional network is gone, industry reputation damaged, and career momentum destroyed. Meanwhile, Marcus is facing his own consequences. Linda filed for divorce, took half his assets, and got custody of the kids. He's living in a studio apartment, paying alimony and child support. His LinkedIn now says independent consultant, which usually suggests unemployment, but with a hopeful outlook. Yesterday, Megan asked if I could help with moving expenses. "Of course, I'm happy to assist as you transition to this new chapter. I keep wondering who might have reported us. Someone was intent on harming our careers. Perhaps someone was protecting the company from liability. Workplace relationships can lead to legal issues. We weren't having a relationship, we were just close colleagues who collaborated well," she argued. Supply room strategy sessions might have appeared as more than colleague collaboration. She looked puzzled. "How did you know about the supply room meetings? You mentioned them before when you were explaining your team-building approach with Marcus." "Oh, right. Yeah, those meetings were entirely professional. Just private space to focus on client strategy." "Of course, completely professional," I replied. "Exactly. Someone made it sound far worse than it was." The ability to rewrite history in her own mind is remarkable. 3 months later, it's time to conclude Megan's professional development journey. She's been living with her parents for 6 weeks now. The job search has been grueling. Professional sales roles require clean backgrounds and industry references. She has neither. Last week, she finally secured a job as a receptionist at a dental office for $19 an hour, with no commission and no company benefits. Such a step down from her pharmaceutical glory days. Her parents are supportive, but the situation is taking a toll on everyone. Megan, at 30, is living by house rules again, explaining her whereabouts and discussing responsible choices. The best part is she still believes the investigation was unjust, that someone sabotaged her career out of jealousy. "I've been reflecting on what went wrong," she told me during her last visit. "Someone really targeted Marcus and me. They must have been observing us closely to gather so much detail. Maybe they were safeguarding the company from legal liability. Workplace relationships can lead to harassment claims, but we weren't harassing anyone. We were just developing professional rapport. Supply room rapport building might have crossed some lines. Those were legitimate business meetings. We needed private space to discuss sensitive client information." "Of course, completely understandable," she nodded. "Exactly. Someone took normal workplace collaboration and made it sound inappropriate. The mental gymnastics are truly impressive." What's the plan now? Build credibility at the dental office, prove I can maintain professional boundaries, maybe transition back to medical sales eventually. What did you learn from this experience? Don't trust anyone. Keep personal communications private. Be more cautious about workplace relationships. Close, but not quite the right lesson. What about establishing appropriate professional boundaries? I thought we had appropriate boundaries. Marcus was my mentor. We worked well together. I don't see how that violated any policies. Still no real comprehension of what went wrong. She finished gathering her remaining belongings and left. I haven't heard from her since. The revenge wasn't elaborate or dramatic. It was simply ensuring that the right people had accurate information about workplace misconduct. Megan opted to have an inappropriate relationship with a married colleague. She chose to breach company policies and risk her career for supply room strategy sessions. I just made sure her choices had fitting consequences. Her company chose to enforce their ethics policies. Linda chose to protect her marriage. Marcus chose to prioritize his career over his family. The system functioned exactly as designed. Megan built her success on personal relationships and crossing boundaries. She forgot that professional relationships have rules and consequences. She aimed to advance through personal connections and got exactly what she earned, just not the advancement she expected. Her LinkedIn updated last week. Open to work under her name, a perfect summary of where poor choices lead. Career destroyed, reputation damaged, living with her parents, working as a receptionist for $19 an hour. She claimed Marcus was teaching her relationship-building techniques. The most essential technique is knowing which relationships are worth building and which ones will cost you everything. Final score. Ethics department wins. Company wins. Wife wins. I win. Megan loses everything she worked for. Justice served both professionally and fully.